What we know is what we know, and we're not ready to talk about that yet.
How close are you right now to getting this solved?
One piece away. One piece away. Eventually somebody's going to do the right thing. He has no idea what we know, but one day he will.
Guys. Yeah.
If we hit year 4, I hope we're sitting here again. But we will do everything within our power and within the parameters of law to find the individual that did this to Abby and Libby.
Our story starts in Delphi, Indiana. Delphi is a small town with a meager population of just 3,000 people. It's a relatively safe area to live and work, and it's most commonly known as a farming community. Not a lot goes on in this sleepy town. That was until February 2017. Liberty German and Abigail Williams were two girls living in the local area. They were best friends, and they both went to Delphi Community Middle School. Liberty enjoyed volleyball, softball, soccer, and swimming. She was a band member in her local school, and she was a creative individual. Abby was also in the school band and played the saxophone. Abby loved to read, and she enjoyed camping, swimming, and being outdoors. They were both inseparable together. On February the 13th, 2017, Libby and Abby were hiking on the Delphi Historic Trail, just east of Delphi on the Monon High Bridge. Monon High Bridge is a decommissioned railway bridge, but it doesn't stop locals from getting a walk and a good scare from heights. It was an unusually warm February afternoon that day, and with school out, the two girls were taking advantage of that. The area wasn't far from home. It was just a country road out of town. But despite this, the area was a very secluded spot, and the bridge wasn't really a safe place to be for two unsupervised girls. A family member dropped the girls off with a plan to pick them up a couple hours later, and Libby and Abby jumped out of the car at around about 1 p.m. to start their walk. Their afternoon started off fine. They made their way towards Monon High Bridge, and roughly an hour later at 2:07 p.m, Libby snapped this infamous photo of Abby over the bridge and posted it to Snapchat. However, at 3:15 p.m, the girls were nowhere to be found at their pickup point. Calls to Libby's mobile phone at first went unanswered, and then eventually went straight to voicemail. At first, the families weren't too alarmed. They both decided to go down to the nature trail and look for Libby and Abby. But as time went on and the two girls were not found, the two families started to get nervous. They contacted the local sheriff department at 5:30 p.m. That evening, as news spread, Sheriff Lazenby told RTV6 News that he had no reason to believe that the girls were in danger. At the time, crews believed that the girls simply got lost in the woods and would eventually find their way back. But throughout that evening, dozens of people volunteered to search for Libby and Abby. The only clue they had of where the two were through the Snapchat photo. The search continued through to midnight, until it was officially called off due to temperature and darkness, though some of the family members carried on looking. The next day, crews resumed their search for Libby and Abby. It was the morning of February the 14th, Valentine's Day. Crews widened their search area as soon as the sun came up, wandering further away from the abandoned railroad track, and checking the wooded areas underneath the bridge and into Deer Creek. The official search had only just resumed, when two search members made a horrific discovery. The bodies of Liberty German and Abigail Williams were found, just over a mile from where they were dropped off on a private piece of land near the Monon Bridge. No details of how the girls were found or their specific cause of death were publicly released. In fact, to this day they still haven't been. The only details of their deaths were through leaked messages from a search team member. These leaked messages detailed that Abby was stabbed multiple times, including through the heart, and Libby's neck had been cut so deep that it was barely attached. The community was devastated. Law enforcement declared both deaths as homicide and offered a $250,000 reward for information that would lead to the arrest of who this murderer was. But before the girls met their fate, back on the bridge, Libby saw someone approaching them and felt uneasy. She felt compelled to take her mobile phone out of her pocket and start recording. In that moment of braveness and wit, what Libby recorded would be something that confuses and haunts people still to this day. So things get foggy here. What law enforcement released to the public was only 2 seconds of the video clip, but unofficial sources believe that her video lasted over an entire minute. Just after these 2 seconds, Libby puts her phone in her pocket and leaves the video recording. The two then start to walk away from the unidentified suspect off the bridge, and at some point after both girls are off the bridge, Libby's concealed phone records the following audio message.
Guys.
And that's all we know. Other than an additional 2 mugshots, that's all the police have released to the public. In the days following the girls' murders, Libby was heralded by state police as a hero for having the presence of mind to start recording when she did. Her video and audio clips very quickly gave the suspect the name, Bridge Guy. So what do we know about the released footage? Well, as you'd expect, this video has been very heavily analysed by people online. There are in fact many possible theories and details out there, but these are the ones that we know. The video shows the suspect walking behind and towards Libby and Abby on the bridge. He's white, male, roughly 5'9" and weighs about 200 pounds, stocky build. He was wearing light blue jeans and a dark blue jacket over a flannel shirt, some sort of beige baseball cap, and he wore a fanny bag. Both of his hands appear to be in his pockets, his left hand lower than his right hand, looking like his right hand is holding on to something. He was also walking in a funny way, but that's what you'd expect on a rickety bridge. And in the final fraction of a second of the video, you can see him turn towards the girl's camera. Libby was just over the south side entrance of the bridge when she recorded the suspect. The suspect was around about 90 feet away from her. Abby, who was closer to the suspect, was walking towards Libby. Unconfirmed sources state that just after this video clip, Abby asked Libby if the man was still following them. Libby responded with, "Mm-hmm." The two knew something was wrong, and shortly after that, they are then told to go. Law enforcement said that the video and audio were from the same media file, and that it captured the man telling the girls to go down the hill during possible criminal activity. They have, however, never elaborated further than that. The clip of the suspect sounds commanding, and what he says matches the location of where the girls were found. At the end of the south side of the bridge, there is a hill embankment, and if you go down this hill, it leads you towards the river, Deer Creek. Just over that is where the girls were found. 5 months into the investigation, Indiana State Police released their first sketch and description of the suspect. The first sketch was created after police received information from several witnesses who were in the area at the time that Libby and Abby had disappeared. At the time, the suspect was described similar to that seen in the video. The suspect was between 5'6" to 5'10", 180 to 220 pounds, and had reddish to brownish hair. However, 2 years later, at a press conference on April the 22nd, 2019, police released a second sketch. That sketch appears to be of an entirely different person, and is now the person believed to be the main suspect in the murders of the two girls. Along with the new sketch, police also updated their description of the man, and believed he was between 18 to 40 years old, though he could appear to look much younger than he actually is. Superintendent Doug Carter shared,
"When we decided that, through the information we've received, that we were going to release the second sketch, I don't believe the individual knew we were going to do that. So, it was really important. I think he was probably there and or watching simply because he thought we were on the wrong path."
Both sketches were composed from individual witnesses who were both there on the day that the girls went missing. Indiana State Police revealed that the second sketch, released more than 2 years after the girls were murdered, was actually the first sketch that was drawn up. They also said they believed that the second sketch was a more accurate depiction of the suspect, though the suspect could actually be a mix between the first and the second sketches. One final key piece of information that investigators released was that they believed the man who murdered Abby and Libby either lived in Delphi or was familiar with the area. ISP Superintendent Doug Carter shared the following statement at a press conference.
"I've walked across that high bridge myself. It's 65 to 70 feet off the river deck. It hasn't had a train on it since 1929. The tyres are starting to rot, it sways back and forth, and it's not something you can just jump on and walk straight across if you've never done it before. I decided I was going to take the riverbank going back. I didn't. That wasn't the first time he's been on that high bridge. My opinion, again that's my opinion. I experienced it, and I kept a piece of the high bridge, and I'll carry it with me until we find out who this is.
During the press conference in April 2019, Indiana State Police also requested the public's help. They were trying to identify the driver of a vehicle that was parked near the Monon High Bridge on the day that Libby and Abby went missing. However, no details were released to the public, not the make, the model, the car's colour or the license plate. Really keeping us deprived here, guys. Come on. So far, no additional information has been released by Indiana State Police, and they still haven't identified the vehicle or the driver of the vehicle. So the question now is, who is Bridge Guy? Since Abby's and Libby's deaths, only one person has been named as a suspect by Indiana State Police. The name of this suspect is Daniel Nations. But during a press conference marking 1 year after their deaths, Indiana State Police shared that Daniel Nations was not someone they cared a whole lot about anymore. Another person of interest was Charles Eldridge. Charles Eldridge was arrested on January the 8th, 2019 in Union City, Indiana on charges of child molestation and child solicitation. Those who know Charles have described him as being a violent weirdo obsessed with hiding in the woods. Police in Randolph County alerted the FBI to a potential link between Eldridge and the Delphi murders on account of his strong resemblance to the suspect's sketch, though this was before the updated sketch composite had come out. And most recently, authorities have shared that they're looking into a suspect by the name of Paul Etter. He had been accused of abducting and sexually assaulting a 26-year-old woman, and following these allegations he killed himself during a police standoff in June 2019. Despite these ongoing investigations, no one's been arrested. So what's the coffee house verdict? My personal opinion? I don't know. Abigail and Liberty were two young girls, just starting their life in a small town. It's scary to think that the two young girls were murdered in broad daylight. But what must have been more terrifying for them is that they knew something was wrong in their final moments. Liberty was brave and smart in her actions. What she recorded is nothing short of remarkable. You would think that in today's times, the video and audio of a killer would be enough to eventually find them, one way or another. But that's why this case is so frustrating. No one's been arrested. I don't know if the current suspects have any connection to the murders. I'm sure if there was enough evidence, they would be arrested already. And what's just as frustrating is law enforcement's hush-hush strategy. I understand that withholding information from the public is done to prevent any tip-offs of current evidence to the suspect, but Liberty recorded her murderer so the world could see and listen, and that's not something the world can currently do. Law enforcement sketches also totally contradict each other. This could have easily confused a valuable witness already. The first sketch released to the public resembles the video much better, and it even resembles Charles Eldridge and Paul Etter, but their updated sketch in 2019 seems to discredit both suspects. The video and audio, for what we know, is terrifying. I hope that one day we will find their killer, but who knows? Hi there, and thank you so much for watching another video of mine. What do you think happened to Liberty German and Abigail Williams? Do you think we already know the suspect, or do you think it's someone else entirely? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this case, please like this video, subscribe, and hang around for more. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, and look after each other. Goodbye.